Hello again, welcome back. Here we are to continue discussing React Native and in particular React Native navigation, okay? In the previous video, we set up a stack navigator and we've set some options on the stack navigator and passed some params. Now what I'd like to talk about is configuring the navigation bar, okay? So the navigation bar is a standard iOS item. So we kind of get this on iOS and Android has a similar feature, okay? So it's kind of built into the system and it has some standard features that you see in all apps. And then React Navigation allows us to access some of those features, okay? So let's talk about configuring it. So first of all, you can configure the navigation bar for each screen in the stack. So it can look different on each screen. So in other words, it could look different on the home screen and different on the details screen, okay? Second, you can also configure it globally for all screens, okay? So if you want it to look the same on all screens, you can do that, okay? The navigation bar has a couple features. So it has a background color, right? And you can see it's this white area at the top. So that's the color that you would set. It can have a foreground color or style. They call it a tint color, okay? And that affects the color of the buttons here, right? You can configure the title. So you can customize the title. You can set options on it. You can set the color. You can set the size. You can set the text of the title, okay? You can also configure, there's a button that goes on the upper right and you can configure that. And you can actually squeeze more than one button in here, okay? So let's get started, right? So the first thing I'm going to look at is this section here called configuring the navigation bar. And you can see I've got stack.screen, and then this is talking about the home screen, and the component is the home screen. This is what we have already. And then the only thing I've added is options, and then options is an object, right? So this is the options object here, and I set the title. So let's give that a try. I'm going to copy this and put it in my home screen here. Or actually, I'm going to put it over here in app.js, right? And let me add a little bit of space here. And then I'll add the options there. So I'll put hello world in the title bar, and here I'm going to configure the title bar, okay? So by default, the navigator would use this as the title, but if you set the title, then it'll use the text that you set, okay? Also notice that when you navigate, so I see the title here, when I navigate the back button, the back button uses the title as the text on the back button, okay? So the back button uses that same title text, okay? So what if we want to do more configuration? So here you can see I still have the same options param, but a more involved object, okay? So this object sets the title like we did before, but then it also includes a key called header style, which is an object and it can have other properties. So header style is going to determine the style for the header, right? So this is the whole thing, and this would be the background color. And then header tint color is going to be the color of the text on the title, right, and the button. And then you can also set the font weight and font size. So let's give that a try. I'm going to maybe just copy all this rather than type it all again, right? And I'll use it over here. I'm just going to replace everybody here. So now remember, when we set props in a component, we need to wrap it in the curly brackets. So if we put an object in there, we got to have a second set of curly brackets, right? So, so here you can see I have the second set of curly brackets there, and there's our new title, right? So we're using the orange color here as the background. The header tint is white, and then the header title style is bold and 24 points, right? So that's why the text looks the way that it does here. Let's go to the next screen. So if I go to the details screen, you can see it goes back to the default Navbar style, right? Okay. So what if and again, like again, like if this is going back to the default style, but actually we could configure this in the details screen. So if you wanted to set the title and the background color in details, you could do that here. Oops, in the details screen, right? So you could set some options on this guy, right? And in that way, like every one of these screens could have a different style to them. Usually though, that's not the case, right? So usually we want to set the style and we want it to be consistent across all of the screens, right? But sometimes you might want to have one screen that stands out for one reason or another, right? Special circumstance, right? So what if you want them all to be the same, right? So let's see here. Yeah, I put a note here if you want to check out how iOS uses these this Navbar. You can look at Mail, Settings, Slack, and Instagram, and you can see how they set the title bar, right? So that might give you some ideas on what the options are, right? Okay. So actually, yeah, before we go on to that though, let's talk about setting the Navbar settings globally, right? So in this example here, you can see that and I put this right below the previous example, right? So we've got the home screen here. We set all the options there. So remember, this is in stack.screen home. Down here, I'm setting stack.navigator and then setting the screen options. I also included this initial route name, so you can name one of your screens as the initial route, right? And that's where we'll start, right? But here you can see I put screen options in there, and then this is an object, and that object has header style, background color, header tint color, header title style, and whatnot, right? So let's borrow this. I'm going to copy that. Actually, I'll just copy this whole thing here, and let's give it a try, right? So I'm going to go to my my page here, and I'm going to remove these options that I just added. Okay, so I'm going to remove these from the home screen, and the new options I'm going to add to the Stack Navigator. So I'm going to put it in the opening tag for the Stack Navigator, right? So make sure you don't lose this thing, right? It's got to go in between here, and then I'll add the screen options, right? And when I do this, let me kind of format that, right? You'll see that the details screen also gets the color and the style, right? And the home screen shares that color and style, right? Let's maybe try this. What if we did font weight? What if we say font size is 30? Right, so now we get font size 30, and if I go to the details screen, it's font size 30, right? So global styles go in the Stack Navigator. And I didn't include the initial route name, right? So we could include this also, right? And the initial route can be home. And that means that when the app boots up, it's going to initially show the home route. By default, it's going to show the first screen that you have listed here. Okay, so it'll show the very first one. Otherwise, you can, if that's not working for you, you can explicitly say which one to show like this, right? So I can just leave that off for me because I want to just show this first one. Our code would have a problem if we showed details first because it's expecting that param, right? So actually, maybe it's safer I should put that in there just in case, right? Just to make sure, because we always want to start on the home screen here, okay? So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope that that's helping you make better React Native apps. And if you have any questions, please feel free to add them to the comments, okay? And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.